People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of the Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I am talking with editor Andres Landau all about the new film Nuisance Bear. There was a short version of Nuisance Bear that was out a few years ago. It is back as a feature-length documentary, premiered at Sundance, and is making the rounds now at film festivals. If you get a chance, I would highly recommend that you check this out. Track it down. You will not be disappointed. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the interview. So obviously I want to talk to you about Nuisance Bear, but I really want to find out a little bit more about you and what was your journey into being an editor?
I did the whole sound engineering route. I was born in Argentina and I did some studies down there before I came up to Canada almost 20 years ago. So yeah, I went to school for sound engineering and I was doing post-sound, mainly recording music, and then I started doing a little bit of film studies, and that's when I started doing a lot of sound related jobs for film, being on location and doing a little bit of post sound for short films and stuff. Yeah, my idea was to continue kind of that path in Canada when I first came to Toronto, but I realized that, integrating all my audiovisual skills into one opportunity that I had to edit a film, I really, really enjoyed it. And I think I never looked back. It was one project after another one. And looking back, Mike, I always had it in me. It's I realized growing up, I was playing with cameras and recording VHS tapes and, taping the holes on the little VHS and recording and taping and doing simple things. So I started from the sound department into this editing world.
Well, as an editor, I've seen that you do, narrative and documentary. When it comes to documentary, definitely a lot of nature stuff. Is that just the benefit of being in Canada?
Yeah, I feel like nature is it's a part of me and I get inspired by being in nature. I think every human being, is we need that aspect in our lives. And that's where I feel really inspired and grounded. I've done, narrative films and a lot of music videos, and I collaborated with a lot of artists. I never thought about it that way. That's a good observation, I would say. But I feel like Argentina and Canada share very similar, landscapes, being, in the opposite poles of America. But I try to choose meaningful stories, and some of them are related to nature, but not necessarily,
What's that relationship like with the director as far as trying to find that tone and that way that you want to edit that project?
Each project, is unique. I learned through the years that there's not one formula. I try to really pay attention to the project and who that, what kind of experience that director has. Of course, at the beginning of someone's career, you take, you take a lot of jobs and you try a lot of things and you make mistakes and you learn from everything. But I feel like as my career progressed, I had a chance to like, because we spend so much time together. That's the reality, and you really want to have someone that you can collaborate with or get inspired by, or be, a good collaborator, and learn from them. And yeah, I feel like it's a lot of like reading and listening and try to understand kind of their inspiration or where approach, or what they expect from an editor as well, if they want someone who can really bring something to the table, or they're just really looking for someone very technical to execute their vision. So yeah, I try to like get into a project as early as I can, so my voice is a little bit heard, or I can have more input, and like and ideas or things that they need to be shot, or sometimes I go on location if I can. I give it 110% in everything that I do.
I remember the earlier version of Nuisance Bear, and I'm curious how you got involved in that, and then how that became a feature documentary.
I met Jack and Gabriela because 14 years ago, myself and like 6 other friends, we all kind of went freelance, and we found an old Portuguese social club in Toronto, and we rented it out, and we built a little bit of a community where we wanted to like now work from our places, and that slowly developed into this beautiful like community of artists that we collaborated in a lot of projects. And yeah, 6, 7, 8 years ago, Jack and Gabi, we met, and they became part of this studio, this collective. And I remember by that point they had been going up to Churchill and in Arviat, so we talked a lot about the film that they were in the process of capturing. And that was when they had to stop going to Arviat because what happened with Aaron Givens there, and there was a lot of conversations about what to do, and we really wanted to do something. So we, between Jad, Gabriela, and Will Miller, the producer, we kind of decided to like focus on the on Churchill, on a little bit of the Churchill story. And I feel like at that point we weren't ready to really tell a bigger story. So it was an essay. It was like a very unique approach, something that we really wanted to try without music, without voiceover, and I feel like in hindsight it really worked. We were able to show that short around the world and in a lot of festivals, and then the New Yorker kind of came on board, and that was like the second wave of energy that the film really needed it to like really get to different corners in the world and win awards. And yeah, and that naturally we had the opportunity to attach bigger partners, so we can actually now embark in this greater journey of creating the feature film, which it was always in Jack and Gabriela's mind, but we never had all the material that we needed it to do it. Yeah, something really cool happened where in a lot of these shows, or this short film, they travel to Arviat, and they show that short film over there, and that's when the community opened up to them and they trusted it a little bit more. And it seemed at that point that they were healing for everything that happened up there, which I really respect, the director's approach and all of us, our approach to like really take a step back and really let them heal and take our time. And yeah, that's when like more trips happened to Arviat, and that's when like this new set of recordings happened and all these interviews, and we were able to really capture, as you probably saw, that other half of the movie.
Now, you said you like to get out in the field. Are you going up there with them?
I didn't go. I wish I could. I cannot wait to go out there and be part of the community screenings that we are planning to do. I spent a lot of time in my cozy dark room, receiving all the footage and thinking about it and talking to them and talking and being on some people out there and thinking about things. But I was able to like help them prep their gear here, and then yeah.
How is it for you as an editor kind of revisiting a project that you had essentially done and dusted, but now here it is a second chance to maybe revisit the earlier stuff and then, of course, build upon it?
I guess I never seen it as okay, let's open this project again and even though it was like a finished short film, it felt like this story is a greater story that we needed to tell. And by crafting the short film, we were able to listen to a lot of people from the community in interviews, and you start thinking about, how can this be a bigger film, and what are the messages? And of course, like whatever you can think of at that point, it becomes something else too, because I think that's the nature of documentary filmmaking too. And we tried a lot of things in the edit for the last 2 years, and it was always evolving, and it was a lot of frustration sometimes, and building sequences and throwing them away and trying and I feel like we had a beautiful team of producers and assistant editors and collaborators that, by having a lot of conversations and listening and educating ourselves and trying and every person who got involved along the way kind of almost brought something else that we got inspired in the process, by being our beautiful sound designer, Dave Rose, and our composer, Cristobal, and our color correction and our sound mixer. I mean, everybody who collaborated, it was like a beautiful, bringing something new and fresh to the process. And I cannot thank them enough, just by having the opportunity to listen to Mike Gibbons, who became the narrator of the film, and his story. Let me tell you, Mike, the most beautiful thing that happened to all of us is really discovering how he really opened himself to Jack and Gabriela in the interviews, and really we felt that he needed to tell the story. He was walking on that path of realization, and it was this moment where we all felt like, he really opened up, and he was very happy to be involved, in this project, and yeah, we're very thankful for it.
When you are editing, what kind of tools are you using? Like, what do you actually edit on? And then how do you keep all this stuff straight?
Well, they make fun of me because like it takes a long time for me to like go to the next generation of things. I'm almost like an old school, but I like to like, once I get comfortable with my setup, I like to like use it as much as I can. But of course, technology has been changing so fast in front of our eyes that I try to adapt. So yeah, of course I have, a beautiful, like powerful machine. And then I build like a server where I put all my media, and I'm attached to that. And I have a second system here. Look, I have a second system here that is attached there, and I have a board with few cards, and I also have like a digital board. I've been very comfortable in Adobe Premiere. I do edit in Avid as well, and I use Resolve for some processing of some of the proxies and stuff like that. This film was edited in the Adobe world, where we were able to like have matching media with different, with the director and with another assistant editor and another additional editor, and we've been like sharing sequences back and forth and opening things up. Yeah, I have a broadcast monitor and a plasma for like for like a client monitor, and then 2 monitors, and I have like a control surface that I like to use for like little fast scaling and rotation and color correction. Yeah, it's an extension of my arm, around me pretty much. But yeah, I try to like pre-mix a lot of the sequences because I like to like present to the directors and the producers like something a little bit more polished. So I put some effort into like pre-mixing, and I have my mixer, and yeah, I mean, I have my toys that I like, on a daily basis.
Obviously, I know that they shot a lot of stuff earlier, but then they're, came back to it. Continuation, I think that's probably the best way to put it. Just continue shooting. Are they still shooting while you're editing?
Yes. There were moments where, for example, in 2024, we built 4 key scenes. I call it like almost signposts that they came very not easily, but we knew when we watched the raw footage that it was so powerful, and we edited them right away, and we knew that those were moments that we wanted to build up to, and they needed to be in the film. And yeah, there were times where they had 3 or 4 times that they interview Mike. One was in Winnipeg, and a couple of times in Arviat. And there were times where I was editing and they were talking about things that we need, or we really wanted to cover all the seasons. So there was a summer shoot and all, a fall and a winter and a spring, but it never made it to the film. But they shot a lot of, like, when you see the tours and the tour guide and those, like, and the big crawlers, in the winter, we had a whole they do the same thing in the summer when they go out and they go with the beluga whales, and all the tourists go out in those and the big boats. And so we had a lot of that. The opening sequence of our bear, like, swimming, there's tons and tons and tons of days of material. Yeah, it was a beautiful collaboration because we talked about it. Once you start crafting and understanding, and we discover, the essence of the film, we were able to, like, go back and wait for the right time and the season to capture what we needed. So yeah, there were times where they were, like, feeding me stuff from up north, or I would wait for them to come back to Toronto, and then we'll process everything. We'll watch things together. We talk about some of the initial feelings that they had there, so I can have a better understanding before, I look at some stuff. And sometimes I don't want to kind of hear anything. I want to just, like, see how that raw footage kind of flows through me and bring maybe something that they haven't seen or they haven't experienced there. So it's a beautiful, I feel like, combination of all those worlds.
Well, so much of editing for me is about rhythm and just trying to find, you talked about those signposts, which are kind of like those almost movement changes, which is fantastic. Did those change throughout there, or did they pretty much stay like, these are the areas where we definitely need to hit these?
They kind of stay. We move them around because we experimented with structure a lot. We always wanted to do this, like, 2-part film structure. We started that way, and then we dismantled the whole film into chunks, into different characters and subject matters, and we kind of rebuild it all again. So in the process of doing that, we experimented with, like, changing the structure a bunch of times. But yeah, I mean, the rhythm, it was also, I would say, Mike, determined by the fact that, as you saw in the film, a lot of the shots, so they had to build crazy rigs, so they were, like, also as the years progressed, the technology evolved. So there were over like the last year and a half, we had like this crazy shot over bubble that it was mounted in front of a truck, and it was remote control from the inside of the truck, and that's the same one that it was mounted on the helicopter. A lot of those shots had movement. Sometimes, of course, we had like a tripod, a static shots, but I would say a big percentage of the film is this. So I got inspired by that too, and I lean onto that movement, and that's why I feel like the film feels a little bit immersive sometimes, and with the whole soundscape and the music, and we started to create this dance and the rhythm, and Jack and Gabriela are very musically savvy as well, and as I said before, Cristolo's like a score, as he got also inspired, and we fed them some like location sounds, and he will feed us some different like music cues, and we will place them and play with the scenes, and really start to find this rhythm through some of the scenes, and then eventually we found those like ups and downs and pauses that the film kind of needed it.
Obviously, I know you have to trust in yourself, trust in your fellow filmmakers as you're putting this together. But is there a point where you go, now I need to show this to other people and see their reactions and make those changes?
100%. I think it happens to all of us, and sharing in the inner circle first with the if I work on something on my own, first I share with either it will be the co-directors or one of the producers or one of the other editors. We've been like almost to a point where we feel comfortable sharing it. Then with the greater group, sometimes with like people outside my door here, and of course I feel it's very healthy as well to do the feedback screenings along the way, those being like industry colleagues or people from the community, just to like along the way understand if there's something that they don't understand, or something needs to be clarified, or something that is really landing. And yeah, I feel it's like a natural process for a lot of filmmakers to share either assemblies or rough cuts or mini sequences, and to have that that moment of either disaster or reassuring. It's like I've been into both situations, and it's like sometimes it's healthy to know ahead of time, and to see if like something is, you might be going on a crazy tangent where you feel like you have it all figured out, and like nobody understands anything, and must be a reason. This is why you trust the people, and like you want to try to like have kind of different people that have no idea what the filmmaking process is, and people that do understand. So you have like a little bit of a gamut of feedback.
When is the first time you got to see the full Nuisance Bear with an audience?
With an audience, when it was like 10 days ago. It was at the library at our first premiere at Sundance. That was like audience, I would say those were like 300, 400 people. We had invited some folks in the sound mix and in our DCP playback here before we send the print to the festival. But they were like they were colleagues. But with an audience, that was the first time, and it was incredible. It was a truly dream come true. We all got very emotional, and just to be there, feel the room, and people were like cheering and laughing, and really having that sense of reaction into things and details that I could have never thought about, that it would happen. So it was, it will stick with all of us forever, man. It was incredible. Yeah.
With a project that goes this long, are you working on other things at the same time?
I mean, last year, 2025, this is mainly what I did, to be honest. I mean, there was a time where I was able to like take some weeks off in the summer, and it was also a healthy pause, I would say, because it allowed us to like take a little bit of distance from the project and gain a little bit of perspective and see other things and maybe work on something else. But you keep thinking about it, and when you rewatch things, yeah, you gain a little bit of perspective. And they've been going up for 10 years, but there was a lot of pauses in between. Of course, I did many projects in between and films, and the last 2 years, yeah, it's been mainly Nuisance Bear.
Do you have your next gig already lined up?
Yes, I'm starting on Monday to look at some footage for a new film. Very excited.
Narrative or doc?
It's a blend of both, but it's going to be mainly a documentary, but it has a little bit of recreations, and it's going to be a fun one.
Thank you so much for your time today. It was such a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, thanks for being part of this.